When we talk about the AI revolution, we usually get caught up in the software, right? All the amazing models and algorithms. But the real war, the high-stakes battle that's going to define the next decade of tech, is actually being fought over the hardware that makes it all possible. And this isn't just about silicon, it's about a massive shift in the balance of power. So let's break down what's really going on.
Everything really kicked into high gear back in the late 2025. That's when Google dropped its new AI model, Gemini 3, and it was absolutely stunning. But this wasn't just another cool tech demo. No, this was a strategic shot fired across the bow of the entire industry. And believe me, it made some serious waves.
So let's meet the two combatants in the ring. On one side, you have the undisputed champion, the chip that has totally dominated the AI world for years, NVIDIA's GPU. And on the other side, we have the challenger, a specialized fighter built for one single purpose, Google's TPU. This is the hardware at the very heart of this entire conflict.
Okay, so how did this challenger suddenly burst onto the scene? Well, Gemini 3's success wasn't just some brilliant technical achievement that came out of nowhere. It was actually the final move in a decade-long strategy by Google to completely change the game.
And here is the absolute kicker. Gemini 3, one of the most advanced AI models on the planet, was trained entirely on Google's own in-house chip, the TPU. For years, the assumption in the industry was that if you wanted to play at this level, you had to use NVIDIA. Well, Google just proved that assumption was dead wrong.
So what's really the difference between these two pieces of technology? It really boils down to a fundamental design philosophy. You've got the reigning champ, the GPU, which is this super flexible generalist, versus the specialized challenger, the TPU, which is a purpose-built specialist.
All right, time for the tale of the tape. Let's really get into it and put these two chips head to head. We're going to look at the key metrics that really matter when you're talking about large-scale AI.
So first up, the GPU. Now, its story is kind of fascinating. It was originally designed to render graphics for video games, right? But it turned out to be incredibly good at the kind of parallel processing that AI just loves. It's a powerful jack-of-all-trades, flexible enough to handle pretty much any computing task you can throw at it. And then you've got the TPU. This is what's called an ASIC, an application-specific integrated circuit. It wasn't adapted for AI, it was born for it. It was literally designed from the ground up to do one thing and do it exceptionally well. Handle the very specific type of math that is the backbone of modern AI.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this power gap. A top-of-the-line NVIDIA Blackwell GPU, that thing sips about 700 watts. The latest TPU? Around 400. Now that might not sound like a huge deal for one chip, but imagine running tens of thousands of these in a data center. That difference becomes absolutely astronomical, affecting both your budget and your environmental goals.
And this number right here, this shows you the real-world impact. Because of that efficiency and specialization, Google said that training Gemini 3 on TPUs led to a total cost savings of 40%. Now, when training a single model can cost you hundreds of millions of dollars, 40% isn't just a saving, it's a complete game changer.
Okay, so let's put it all together. This table kind of summarizes the whole showdown. GPUs, like NVIDIA's Blackwell, they give you incredible flexibility, and they're backed up by this massive software ecosystem called CUDA. But TPUs, they win on pure AI performance, on energy efficiency, and on cost. It's that classic battle, versatility versus specialization.
This quote from a former Google engineer just hits the nail on the head. Google isn't trying to kill the GPU. What they're doing is creating a highly competitive, super specialized alternative that directly targets a major pain point for developers, the constantly rising cost of NVIDIA's hardware.
And that brings us to the bigger picture here, because this fight isn't just happening on a circuit board, it's an all-out war for the entire developer ecosystem. So here's how the strategies are playing out. NVIDIA has built this incredible fortress with its CUDA software. It's like a deep, powerful moat that makes it really hard for developers to switch away from their hardware. Google's move is different. They've integrated TPUs exclusively into Google Cloud, creating this really compelling full-stack package where the hardware and software are perfectly tuned for each other.
But here's the thing, this isn't necessarily a zero-sum game. What's super interesting is that Google itself uses what they call a two-track strategy. They still use NVIDIA GPUs for more flexible, experimental stuff, while they keep their powerful TPUs for what they do best, those massive core AI training jobs. It suggests the future isn't about one chip winning, but about using the right tool for the job.
So the bottom line is this.
For the first time in basically a decade, NVIDIA has real, serious competition, and that's forcing them to change how they act. They can't just operate like a simple monopolist anymore. They have to become more of a careful ecosystem custodian, nurturing their community to keep them from jumping ship to a really compelling alternative like Google's TPU.
So what does all this mean for the future of AI hardware? Where are we headed? Let's look at the key trends that this whole rivalry has kicked into motion.
We're seeing three major trends really taking shape because of this. First, a huge wave of specialization, with more and more companies building their own custom chips for AI. Second, the rise of hybrid systems, where companies will mix and match different chips to get the best of all worlds. And third, a massive focus on sustainability. Energy efficiency is about to become just as important as raw power.
And you can see the projected impact right here on this chart. I mean, sure, NVIDIA's GPUs still hold the lion's share, about 85% of the market today. But the slice for specialized chips like the TPU is expected to literally double from 15% to 30%. And in a market worth hundreds of billions of dollars, that is a seismic shift.
So the big takeaway, the one thing to remember from all of this, is that the era of a single GPU monopoly is coming to an end. We are now entering what you could call a multi-ecosystem era, where you'll have multiple powerful platforms all competing, collaborating, and driving innovation faster than we have ever seen before.
So in the end, Google's Gemini 3 didn't just launch a new AI model. It fundamentally reshaped the entire tech landscape. The AI hardware race is officially wide open again. And that leaves us with one critical question to think about. Will the next decade of AI be ruled by a single, all-powerful king, or by a council of powerful rivals?